My name is Varun Baker. I'm the CEO of Farm Credibly. We are a civic technology, sorry, this thing is advancing by itself. Let me stop it. Okay, sorry about that. So we are an agri-tech company that's focused on improving access to finance. We're currently operating in Jamaica, but have our eyes on expanding within the region and actually throughout the world in other developing other developing country contexts where agricultural markets are much bigger than we find in the Caribbean. So really, we are connecting farmers with funding opportunities. So financiers and funders can invest through our through our website in farms directly in Jamaica. And what I really want to share is some of the journey in terms of how we got here, because we didn't start this way, but it's actually through funding and grant funding that allowed us to be here. So I'm super excited at this event, at the launch of this opportunity, which is an Agri-Tech innovation grant. I encourage everyone to try to submit an application to get funding if agriculture and/or technology is something you feel passionately about, or watching these presentations, you feel some connection. Please think about projects you can get off the ground. It's totally worth it. Farm Credibly would not be here today if not for the support of grant funding. It was the earliest and most significant support we got out of the gates. So initially, the company was registered in 2018, but prior to that, we won a hackathon here in Jamaica that was sponsored by IBM, NCB, a large commercial bank here, and Flow, a telecoms company. And really, really small funding was attached to that, but it helped give us the confidence to get started, and led to our next bit of funding, which came through the CTA, which is an international organization. And I really want to emphasize that the hackathon was a great start, but isn't enough. And people are often critical of hackathons that, hey, nothing comes from it afterwards, but they serve a very specific purpose. And there's a whole kind of life cycle of a startup, and there are different kind of stakeholders or participants who can help startups along at different parts of the journey. So I think grant funding is something that's somewhat lacking in our ecosystem, especially around agri-tech. So I'm so excited and happy that Compete Caribbean and the IDB is taking on this challenge firsthand, as we can see here. Beyond that, we went on to receive a grant from the Development Bank of Jamaica, the DBJ, which has helped us to pilot our idea. And why this is so important is that it supports the development of our product. Out of the gates, we wanted to build something that provided alternative credit scoring for large financial institutions. And when we realized they weren't as interested as they initially sounded, we went on to micro lenders and realized that maybe this wasn't the right match. So we've gone through several iterations on our business model, on our technology. We've built maybe 4 different mobile apps. And it's an iterative process that would really not be possible if not supported by some grants. So I'll go on a little bit. The main challenge we are addressing is that 90% of farmers in Jamaica cannot access finance. And it's not just specific to agriculture, but it's extremely pronounced in agriculture. In fact, 86% of Jamaica in general are considered underbanked, not unbanked, but underbanked. So ask me in the panel if you want clarity on the distinction there. But there's several challenges in farming in the Caribbean generally, especially in Jamaica, where people primarily use cash. The informal sector is quite large. And like I said, there's very limited lending in agriculture. Maybe 2% of the loan portfolios of banks actually go to agriculture, despite agriculture contributing upwards of 7% to the GDP of the country. And if you include manufacturing sectors, et cetera, it's closer to 15%. And generally, there's just a lot of annoying paperwork that comes with applying for funding and loans. If you've ever done it as an individual, it's tedious for someone like me who's very tech savvy, much less someone who is out in the field and who, as a lifestyle choice, prefers not to go into, the city and the hustle and bustle of things. So with this context, there's a lot of room for growth. We started this as agri-tech and are finding traction at the intersection of what I'd say is agri-tech and fintech. So we currently have a crowd farming, what we call a farming platform that allows individuals wherever you are in the world to get involved in financing farm operations in Jamaica for a return on that investment. So people have to be interested in impact, not just those returns, and interested in using their money for the good of agriculture. I mean, I would say there are two types of persons in this world: people who know they're connected to a farmer, and those who don't, because the truth is we're all connected to farmers. We all hopefully eat 3 times a day. And there is something that needs to be addressed here. In the Caribbean, we are disproportionately affected by climate change, weather, etc. For our contributions in global emissions, etc. We kind of bear the brunt of more catastrophe from extreme weather, and agriculture is severely impacted. So what we're trying to do is shift the burden of risk in agriculture to go beyond just the farmer, and that's really a large part of what we're after. So our business model, I won't go into too much detail except to highlight that we're currently focused on building out our model farm, which allows us to create a lot of kind of baseline data and real world application of what we're doing. We have, a full budget that goes along with hot pepper farming, which is a value chain that that's around hot pepper in Jamaica. Scotch bonnet is a particular variety that has extreme demand in the export world and in the international market. In fact, agro-processors have never been able to fill the supply for this specific commodity. After we realize some gains with this, we'll branch out to other crops, etc., maybe even livestock. But there's so many variables, we try to keep things as simple as possible. So we are kind of in the business of creating farmer profiles. On the left-hand side, there's you'll see a screenshot of a mobile app that's for data collection on farms. But we have to go out and validate farms, and that's an expensive process, actually, to go out and physically visit farms, but it's absolutely necessary in the work we're doing now. But at the same time, technology really can help us lower those costs. So we're currently developing apps and technology to help with that. And we're also mainly in the business of de-risking. So what Ralph was talking about earlier is extremely interesting in terms of the greenhouses. And I think for financiers, it would be a no-brainer, especially since they have insurance companies on board, to invest in that type of infrastructure. But generally on our farms, we've found our starting point for de-risking is around identifying the farm's water source. The vast majority of farms in Jamaica are rain-fed, so it's at the kind of mercy of the elements, so to speak, in terms of what farm output is looking like. So irrigation, water tanks, etc., play a big role in improving conditions, growing conditions, and de-risking farms. But there's also the need for many other things: farm management, the demand of certain crops. So that's why we're solely focused on something for which there's a very big established demand. Predial larceny is a factor here, and working with cash plays a role in that, because farmers often handle very large amounts of cash, and there are often people kind of watching or paying attention to, where big trucks full of goods go and come from. And so working with cash is a big risk, and using digital tools can really help to address that. We're also quite selective with the farmers we choose to work with, and the profiles that we end up promoting. So it's not kind of a free-for-all. Any farmer or anyone who's interested in joining our network is gonna automatically become available for these funding opportunities. Usually farmers are onboarded by recommendation from someone else in the agricultural ecosystem. And we find that just general financial literacy is important, an important skill for our farmers and for people generally to understand to really grow their enterprises. So we make a big distinction between kind of people interested in subsistence farming versus people who are really interested in growing their farm as a business. So here's just a kind of a couple of screenshots on that model farm I mentioned earlier. There's a screenshot I've shared of a call we were on yesterday with someone who's interested in our model farm who's all the way in the Netherlands, along with Israel, another big pioneer in agricultural technology and just agricultural processes generally. And this is really a year of collaborations for Farm Credibly. So we've recently signed an MOU with an Indian technology company that's currently serving over 80,000 users. I feel like that's going to grow to 100,000 pretty quickly. And they have done all of this kind of post-COVID, and they serve a lot of farmers, etc., and have come to us because of our experience with data and you know, kind of designing business models around agricultural ecosystems. We're also looking at supply chains within the Caribbean and in Europe. But so access to market is important. I do want to just kind of, for lack of a better word, big up my team, co-founder Danielia, Chief Agronomic Officer Kevin, and Philip, who's our star software developer. Just to close, I do want to share that there is a lot of mention of a lack of interest of youth in agriculture. And I think increased use of technology really can help to bridge that gap, as well as improved, more equitable farm income, honestly. So this is really where our project is focused. I look forward to answering a lot of questions in the panel. I really have a lot to share, but time is limited, and I don't want to take up too much. So, please go on our website, farmcredibly.com, click sign up so we get your details and can stay in touch. And share our platform with any local or international investors, or I should say funders, who may be interested in working with farmers in Jamaica. And if there's any kind of financial mentorship or networking opportunities you think we can benefit from, please get in touch. So thank you.